Be prepared. We're about to witness a crucial moment. If you think this is just another new moon, you're already being misled. Tomorrow's new moon is about to hit harder than anyone expects. It's one of the most distant new moons of the year, the one most people won't even pay attention to, and that is exactly why it changes things in ways you don't see coming. Nothing about this moon is dramatic on the surface, but it carries a precision that bigger moons can't achieve. It doesn't overwhelm you, it redirects you. Because what this moon sets in motion starts revealing itself in a way you won't be able to ignore. Everyone will feel this new moon, but spiritually attuned people will feel its presence far more intensely. A mini-moon doesn't reduce its influence, it concentrates it, making the energy clearer, sharper, and impossible for sensitive individuals to ignore. This is one of those moments where being spiritually aware becomes both a gift and a responsibility. You pick up on shifts long before they show up in your physical reality, which means you can't afford to move through this new moon blindly. You need to know what its energy represents, what it's signaling, and why it's arriving in the exact way that it is. Because if you're someone who feels things deeper, this new moon carries a meaning you cannot afford to miss. And understanding it will make the next part of this energy make a lot more sense. There's something about this new moon's energy that makes intentions feel louder, sharper, more exposed. This is not the moment to announce what you're planning or where your life is heading. In energies like this, speaking too soon can scatter the momentum you're building internally. The more you talk about your next move, the more you dilute it. This moon creates a kind of psychological spotlight, and when you reveal your plans under it, they don't grow, they leak. Your next step needs privacy right now, not applause. There's a reason why some of the most spiritually aware people prefer to move in silence during certain lunar phases. They understand that when energy is this subtle and precise, even a conversation with the wrong person can shift the direction entirely. This is one of those moments. Think of it like this. Some decisions gain power in silence and lose power in conversation. This new moon amplifies that truth. Your ideas, your breakthroughs, your inner shifts, they're still forming. They're not ready for the weight of opinions, doubts, or outside interpretations. Even well-meaning people can distort the vision you're trying to protect. Silence isn't secrecy here, it's spiritual strategy. And the more you keep to yourself during this mini-moon window, the clearer your next step becomes. You're not hiding your future, you're preserving it. Those who are spiritually awake are going to feel this moon differently and more intensely than everyone else. Not because they're better or more evolved, but because they're already paying attention to the parts of reality most people tune out. During this moon, the world feels oddly artificial to the awakened. Patterns stand out more sharply. Repetition becomes more obvious. You may notice conversations that feel pre-scripted, people acting on autopilot, or routines that suddenly look mechanical. It's not paranoia, it's perception. The mini-moon's distance creates a strange clarity, almost like stepping outside of the usual rhythm of society. You see what others overlook, the disconnects, the inconsistencies, the quiet truths behind people's behaviors. With this moon's energy, it becomes even harder to pretend you don't see it. There's also a unique kind of isolation that comes with this awareness. Not loneliness, isolation, a feeling of standing slightly outside the crowd, watching the world move while you remain still, observant, detached. But this isn't a punishment, it's a gift. Because when you see the world from the outside, you finally see it without distortion. You see the systems, the patterns, the distractions, and you're no longer pulled into them. This clarity brings freedom, not confusion. As the moon retreats, your perception advances, and the separation between what everyone accepts and what you can now clearly see widens. And that's why spiritually awake people don't just feel this moon, they understand it. Awareness isn't a burden, it's the permission to choose differently. And once this clarity settles in, the next part of this shift becomes impossible to ignore. This new moon carries a very specific kind of solitude. Not the sad, heavy kind, but the kind that exposes what you really rely on when everything outside of you goes quiet. When the moon is this far away, people often describe a strange emotional distance, like the universe has stepped back just enough for you to wonder if you're actually standing alone. And the truth is, that feeling is intentional. This is the type of moon that removes the illusion of being guided by constant signs, synchronicities, or external reassurances. It creates a spiritual environment where nothing obvious shows up for you, nothing jumps out with crystal clarity, and nothing saves you from making your own decisions. It's not abandonment, it's refinement. This is where spiritual independence is forged. Not in the loud moments, not in the obvious breakthroughs, but in the silence where you have to decide whether your power is real only when something confirms it, or whether it exists even when nothing does. This moon isn't a guardian, it's a mirror that left the room. That's the energy you're dealing with. It's the kind of influence that forces you to sit with yourself and recognize that you're not waiting for guidance. You are the guidance. You've always been. The moon simply steps back so you can finally step forward without leaning on anything outside of your own strength. Because that's the real question of this moment. Will you still believe in your power when the moon isn't watching? And only once that realization settles, once you understand that nothing external is coming to save you, something much deeper begins to realign within you. There is a specific kind of clarity that arrives during a new moon like this, and it has nothing to do with forcing outcomes or obsessively trying to manifest something specific. This energy doesn't reward control, it rewards alignment. It's not about pushing, visualizing harder, or trying to bend reality to match your desires. It's about letting the path widen in front of you because you're finally standing in the right place to see it. This mini-moon brings a quiet realignment that feels almost like life shifting you by a few degrees, just enough to put you in the exact direction you were supposed to be facing all along. You might notice that something you thought you wanted suddenly feels too small, too shallow, or too misaligned to hold your future anymore. And rather than giving you what you were trying to manifest, this moon upgrades it into something more fitting. This moon aligns what's truly meant for you, even if you weren't looking that way. That's the essence of this energy. It's the moment where your intentions and your deeper truth stop fighting each other. You stop asking the universe for something that no longer matches who you're becoming, and you start feeling drawn toward opportunities you didn't even know existed, and none of it requires you to force anything. This is not the moon to push. It's not the moon to hustle your manifestations into existence. It's the moon where clarity does more for you than effort ever could. Your job is simply to not cling to the old vision so tightly that you miss the upgraded path forming right in front of you. Release the pressure of trying to make things happen. Let the new moon open the doors that were already on their way to you. Because what's aligning under this moon isn't random, it's precise, it's intentional, and it's already unfolding behind the scenes. There's something unusually precise about the energy of the 20th. Not mystical for the sake of sounding mystical, but genuinely structured, almost like the date itself was built to mark a turning point. The 20th doesn't behave like just another day on the calendar. It carries the feeling of stepping over an invisible line that separates one version of your life from another. There's a crispness to the energy, a sharpness, the sense that whatever you decide now will echo louder than usual. People underestimate how much numbers matter until a day like this arrives. The number 2 is all about direction, that moment when you stop drifting and start choosing. It's the energy of orientation, the awareness that you're no longer walking aimlessly, but selecting a path with intention. And the 2 doesn't wait around. It pushes you to notice which way you're leaning, what you're craving, what you're avoiding, and what you're silently preparing yourself for. Then there's the 0 beside it, a symbol that gets misunderstood because it appears empty. But 0 isn't emptiness. It's space. It's the untouched field before form emerges. It's the moment where everything is possible because nothing is locked in. 0 is the quiet potential behind every breakthrough, the silent energy that holds every direction open at the same time. It represents pure possibility, the kind that only exists when nothing has been decided yet. When you merge these 2 energies, the clarity of direction and the vastness of possibility, you get the signature of the 20th, a crossroads infused with infinite potential. It's the point where a single choice reshapes the entire trajectory because the field is wide open and receptive. Decisions made on days like this move quickly. They gather momentum. They create ripple effects that unfold over weeks, sometimes months, because the timing aligns with a natural threshold in the collective energy. You may notice yourself feeling more decisive than usual, not impulsive, decisive. The kind of clarity that doesn't shout, it lands. Suddenly, something you've been debating becomes obvious. This isn't a day designed for hesitation. Once you choose a direction today, the universe responds quickly. The 20th acts like a spiritual doorway that swings open the moment you step toward it. And for people who are spiritually awake, the 20th hits even harder because the internal shifts are more noticeable. You're more aware of the subtle signals. You're more tuned into the quiet push. You can feel the difference between a path that's fading and a path that's inviting you forward. The beauty of this date is that the power doesn't come from the number, it comes from the moment you finally choose. Threshold numbers don't force transformation, they simply reveal the exact point where you stop waiting for it. And once you cross that threshold under this new moon, you don't go back. The path resets itself behind you, and a new one opens in front of you with a clarity you may not have felt in months. One of the most comforting parts of this new moon is that it works in a way most people desperately need right now, quietly, gently, and without demanding anything from you. This isn't the kind of energetic moment that requires discipline or spiritual effort. It doesn't need you to journal, meditate, push, release, or force anything into clarity. In fact, the more you try to control the process, the more you interrupt the exact healing this moon is trying to bring. This moon brings the type of reset that settles in while you're not paying attention, the kind that moves through your emotional system slowly, like a tide that rises without waves. You may not feel it dramatically in the moment, but you'll wake up one day wondering why something that used to weigh you down suddenly feels lighter, or why a certain memory doesn't hurt the same way anymore, or why you simply don't have the energy to participate in patterns that once felt automatic. That's the quiet medicine of this moon. A lot of people have been running on empty, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Not because they're weak, but because life hasn't given them enough time to catch up with themselves. And when you're that depleted, you need a form of healing that doesn't require you to participate in it. You need restoration without effort. You need something that adjusts you internally while you're resting, not while you're working. This new moon steps into that role effortlessly, almost like an energetic caretaker that realigns what's been out of place without forcing you into any kind of spiritual labor. You might notice old stress loosening its grip without knowing exactly when it happened. You might feel small pockets of peace returning to places that were full of tension. You might even realize that the things you kept trying to fix haven't been problems at all. They were symptoms of exhaustion, and the moon is soothing the exhaustion, not the symptoms. This healing doesn't ask for acknowledgement or understanding. It happens in the background, the way the body heals while you sleep, or the way a wound closes long before you check on it. It's gentle enough that you don't resist it, but powerful enough that it changes something you've been struggling with for too long. This moon realigns the parts of you that slipped out of sync during stress, fatigue, or emotional overwhelm. It puts things back where they belong: your energy, your clarity, your confidence, your internal rhythm. You don't have to direct it, you only have to not fight it. Some of the deepest healing happens when you're finally too tired to stand in the way. This is that kind of healing, the kind that recenters you so gently that you don't even realize how much has shifted until you look back. This moon doesn't want effort, it wants allowance. And if you can give it just that, it will do more for you than any spiritual practice could accomplish right now. One of the strangest experiences people have around this new moon is the sense of being pulled in two different directions at the same time. And it's not coming from pain or wounds or shadow work. It's coming from the fact that you've grown into more than one version of yourself. And now the universe is quietly asking you which one is going to lead. This moon doesn't bring emotional chaos, it brings emotional honesty. It makes you aware of desires you've carried that don't match each other anymore. You may feel the urge to simplify your life and the urge to expand your life at the exact same time. You may crave peace, but still feel the spark for something bigger calling you. You may want stillness, but you can sense a deeper part of you wanting to disrupt old patterns and pursue something that scares you a little. It's a subtle war between comfort and evolution, between the life you've built and the life you're drawn toward, between the version of you who wants stability and the version who is ready for a risk you can't fully explain. And the truth is, this moon doesn't allow you to pretend those contradictions can all coexist forever. The distance of the moon creates a psychological distance too, almost like stepping outside of yourself and watching all your desires line up in front of you. There's no confusion, no fog, no emotional noise, just a clear awareness that not everything you want belongs to the same future. That clarity can be uncomfortable because it forces you to acknowledge the choices you've been delaying. What's interesting is that none of this feels dramatic on the surface. It's quiet. It happens in the background of your thoughts, in the pauses between your plans, in the moments where you realize you can't keep scattering your energy in a dozen different directions. You feel the divide between who you've been and who you're becoming more clearly than ever. At some point, choosing both becomes the same as choosing neither. That's the pressure point this moon creates. It's not pushing you to abandon anything. It's pushing you to prioritize something, to choose the path that actually aligns with what you're becoming rather than what you've been surviving. This is the moon that asks you to stop trying to appease every version of yourself and finally decide which one deserves the most energy. You may feel a sense of internal negotiation, not anxiety, but negotiation, as if your soul is quietly sorting through all the dreams, desires, and impulses you've collected over the years and reorganizing them based on what actually matters now. The internal friction you're feeling is simply the old blueprint losing control as the new blueprint takes shape. And once that choice, even silently, begins to form inside you, something clicks. The conflict doesn't disappear instantly, but it begins to settle because, deep down, you know which direction is actually yours. This moon is designed to pull away so you can hear yourself clearly enough to choose. When you emerge from this internal war, you realize something important. The desire that remains after the conflict is the one that was meant to lead all along. There's a fascinating phenomenon that happens around the 48 hours of this new moon, a window where one specific moment tends to stand out with a clarity that's impossible to ignore. It's not dramatic, it's not supernatural, it doesn't feel like an omen or a grand revelation. It feels real, grounded, almost mundane, but with a level of precision that makes you stop and think, okay, that can't be a coincidence. This sign tends to arrive in a way that blends into your normal life. It shows up in timing, in conversations, in interactions that seem ordinary, until you realize they're highlighting exactly what you've been trying to understand. It could be the way someone phrases something that hits deeper than they intended, or the way an opportunity presents itself without warning, or even the sudden clarity that comes from noticing a pattern in your own behavior you hadn't seen before. The power of this window is that it doesn't overwhelm you with too much information. It doesn't try to reveal your entire path. It gives you one piece, the next step. And that single piece resonates so deeply that it becomes impossible to unsee. You feel something shift inside you when it happens, as if the universe is tapping gently but firmly on your shoulder, saying, "Pay attention to this. This is where you go next." This moon's energy works with precision, not intensity. That's why the sign isn't wrapped in mysticism. It's wrapped in timing. It arrives when your internal defenses are quiet, when your mind isn't trying to look for answers, and when your intuition is strong enough to recognize meaning without needing to dissect it. Real guidance doesn't shout, it stands out. And that's exactly what this window delivers. A moment that stands out. Something that makes the noise around you fade for a second. Something that clicks into place without effort. Something that gives direction without giving explanation. This sign isn't meant to show you the final destination. It's meant to confirm that the step you're already contemplating is the right one. It's the universe giving you reassurance, not instruction. Validation, not a map. You won't get the whole picture, and you don't need it. You just get the piece that stabilizes the inner momentum you've already begun building. After this sign appears, the path ahead doesn't suddenly become easy or obvious, but it becomes aligned. The confusion drops, the hesitation eases, and the choice you've been dancing around becomes the one you finally have the courage to make. This moon doesn't guide with force, it guides with clarity, and this 48-hour window is the moment where clarity becomes undeniable. Feeling lost isn't a mistake. It's the ritual. This mini-moon carries a sensation that almost everyone misunderstands at first. It creates an energetic emptiness that feels like the world has gone strangely quiet. Not peaceful, not comforting. More like a temporary disconnect from the emotional signals and intuitive guidance you're used to leaning on. It's the kind of silence that makes you wonder if something's wrong, because nothing seems to be moving the way it normally does. But that's precisely the design of this moon. This is the quiet that comes before a direction appears, a direction that can only exist after everything else has been stripped away. The emptiness you're feeling isn't a void created by lack. It's a void created by preparation. The mini-moon pulls its influence away like a tide going out, creating a strange spaciousness inside you. It doesn't give you answers. It doesn't give you signs. It doesn't give you intuitive fireworks. Instead, it gives you the one thing most people never make time for: mental and spiritual stillness. And that stillness feels foreign because you're not used to being in a space where nothing is telling you what to do. When all the usual cues disappear, you're suddenly confronted with the blank canvas of your own life. And blank canvases are intimidating. They show you the vastness of possibility, but hide the path, forcing you to walk before anything appears under your feet. This phase is an initiation through absence, not through struggle, through the pure silence where you finally hear your own awareness rising without outside influence shaping it. This emptiness is the spiritual equivalent of being between breaths, that moment where everything is suspended. The old identity has already detached, but the new one hasn't fully taken shape yet. You're not who you were, and you're not yet who you're becoming. You're in the in-between, the liminal doorway where transformation is happening under the surface, while it looks like nothing is happening at all, and it's supposed to feel disorienting. One of the most unexpected shifts brought on by this mini-moon is something most people won't even realize is happening at first. A quiet kind of confidence that rises slowly, without noise, without effort. It doesn't show up as motivation or energy. It's not something that pushes you forward. In fact, it doesn't push at all. It just settles into your awareness like it's always been there, like it never left. And you begin to notice that you're no longer second-guessing yourself the way you used to. There's no big emotional release or spiritual high. Instead, there's a subtle shift in how you carry yourself. You stop overthinking decisions. You stop needing to explain your path to anyone. You stop waiting for the right sign to move forward. You just begin to trust that you're aligned. Not because everything suddenly makes sense, but because the doubt isn't as loud anymore. Something inside of you has moved into place, and you didn't need to force it. This isn't the kind of confidence that comes from getting results, achieving a goal, or hearing someone validate you. It's not reactive, it's internal. It's a product of stillness, the kind of clarity that only shows up when the noise has been cleared. And that's exactly what this mini-moon energy is doing. By pulling back, by softening everything, it creates a space where your real voice can finally rise above the internal chatter. It might feel strange at first. You're used to confidence being loud, being hyped up, being full of momentum. But this is different. This is the confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need to prove anything. It just is. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.